Welcome back to Bay Area Housewife of True Crime, where I like to tell the stories of the real cucuys and lloronas of the world. We are at Marcus Wesson Part 2. As a reminder, topics may be triggering. Viewer and listener discretion is strongly advised. The people mentioned are innocent until proven guilty in court. They lived in total seclusion with no running water. Kiani gave birth to a girl named after Ilabel in September of 1995. 6 months later, Sophina gave birth to a boy named Jonathan. 3 months after that, Ruby gave birth at Watsonville Community Hospital to a girl they named Aviv. Ruby's sister Brandy was only 8 years old when this real-life cucuy by the name of Marcus Wesson started doing his cochinadas to her as well. Marcus had the tendency to put his hand under a blanket while sitting next to her on the couch. And while the other members of his clan were in the same room, he would finger her. When Brandy was 17, she ran away and never looked back. When the owner of the land in Santa Cruz passed away in 1997, the Wessons had no proof of purchase or deal with regards to the land, so they were forced to relocate to Marshall, California. There they lived on boats, on 5 boats they named Sudan, Raven, the Ark, the Abejas, and Phoebe. Marcus stayed true to his word of never getting a real job again, and so he would make his daughter or sister wives, whatever you want to call it, to get jobs themselves. He would row the boat to shore each morning so that the girls could get to their employment with the Marconi Conference Center for their 10-hour shifts. They were said to be good workers who were well liked, but were not allowed to talk to men, as the head wife, Elizabeth, delegated the housework to the kids. While living on the Sudan, Marcus started writing a manifesto that included vampire tales. He taught his family that the end of times were coming, and in the end of times, everyone, including the government, would turn on them for their beliefs. And if anyone ever tried to separate them, they should choose death. The children would be seen dumpster diving and taking bird baths at public restrooms. Child Protective Services were called, but because the Wessons moved around so much, it was hard to track them down. CPS couldn't reach them, but good old Mr. Karen did. Marin County sheriffs were called after Marcus's early mornings up to the shore at Tamales Bay would wake up a man and his dogs, and due to various boat violations, they were forced to relocate once again, this time to Fresno, California. Prior to moving to Fresno, during their time on a boat they called the Sudan, Marcus's daughter Sabrina gave birth to a boy they named Marshy in 2002. His niece Rosa Solorio gave birth to a boy named Ethan in 1999, and a girl named Sedona in 2002. They were all, of course, his children. During their time in Fresno, Marcus quickly secured interviews for Sophina, Ruby, and Kiani at a McDonald's, and they were all hired. They lived in a small upstairs section of a studio on College Ave, then an apartment on Huntington Ave. In 2003, his daughter Kiani gave birth to her second child by her father, a girl named Jiva. Ruby ran away after she fell in love with a co-worker. Sophina was asked to leave after she became pregnant by another man named Milton, who was old enough to be her father and whom she had met at work. In October of 2003, Marcus purchased 761 West Hammond Ave in Fresno, California, under Rosa Solorio's name. And due to the fact that the building was zoned as a business, they were issued an eviction notice. On March 12, 2004, Sophina and Ruby gathered their brothers, cousins, and uncles for help to get their children back from Marcus's hell of a home. A fight ensued, and after 5 calls to 911, the Fresno police responded. Frank Nelson and Benny Martinez arrived at what they thought was a minor domestic dispute. Things escalated quickly, and the SWAT team was called. After an 80-minute standoff, Marcus came out of the house with his hands in the air and blood on his shirt. After an 80-minute standoff with Central California police, they found a non-nuptial homicide of an incestual family annihilator. Using a flashlight, officers made their way to the back bedroom of the home, where they saw coffins leaning against the wall. 9 bodies were stacked on top of each other, all dead. Each of his 9 victims had been shot in the eye. On March 25, 2004, Marcus Wesson pleaded not guilty for 9 counts of murder and 14 sex charges. The trial for Fresno's largest mass murder started on March 3, 2005. At trial, Marcus's public defender argued that it was 25-year-old Sabrina Wesson, Marcus's daughter, who ultimately pulled the trigger, unaliving herself, and the 1-year-old son she had with her father and her siblings. Fresno County District Attorney prosecutors Elizabeth Egan and Lisa Gamoian called several witnesses who testified that this doomsday clan was coached and ready for the end of times when the government would turn on those who worship God. Marcus Wesson would tell his kids and sister wives that they needed to be ready to unalive themselves and each other before the feds got to them. In their eyes, the world would try to break up their family. DNA also proved that 2 of his victims were both his biological children and grandchildren he had fathered through his daughter, 25-year-old Sabrina Wesson. On July 27, 2005, the judge sentenced this real-life kukui to death. Despite everything this real-life monster had done for decades, he had his group of supporters that cried when the guilty verdict was given. Marcus Delon Wesson is currently on death row at San Quentin State Prison, where he belongs. We've reached today's episode at Bay Area Housewife of True Crime. Thank you so much for coming down the rabbit hole where I currently live. As always, I accept and respect your opinions. I welcome all comments, questions, inquiries, case suggestions. Hit me up at yayareahousewife@gmail.com. No, it's not a typo. That's Yay Area with the Y, like E40. Yay Area. And don't forget your hot Cheetos. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Adios.